Hi, I'm Rick, and I'm pleased to take you through a video that's going to cover two topics that are issues throughout the world: communication on the one hand and true assertiveness on the other. I want to say I appreciate you taking the time to look at this video. You've got lots of other things going on, and I know at the hospital you guys have been around, you're going on 35 years, you got 80, 90 people working with you. Big success coming through this pandemic. I mean, congratulations. You kept the doors open through one of the worst things that's happened in the world in 100 years. And maybe more so than that, you survived a remodel a couple years ago. So I understand it's hard to do things that consultants or trainers or people come in and tell you to do. You've got a fast-paced environment. You have no time to slow down and try to do extra kinds of things. You have zero time for training. It's like a luxury. And you've got the stress that's been mounting, going up, 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 and up. That's tough. And here we are having you watch, take 20 minutes of your time to watch this video. I hope you'll look back and say, wow, there were some things there that I'm really glad I got up to speed on, and I'm trying them out. And it saved the amount of time I spent learning it. It saved me that much and more in my work at the clinic. So as we go through some communication information, and then we hit assertiveness, we're going to go. We'll try to figure this assertiveness out where it's horribly misunderstood. Most of us have nightmares of a person coming back from training and then they're insufferable. They're really hard to get along with. Well, that's not true assertiveness. We're going to cover what good professional assertiveness is. We'll talk about a scale in a little while. And we'll end this video with a couple of pledges or promises we want each of you to make. Our three keys as we kick this off to good communication are having a clear message, getting feedback so you get that mutual understanding, and learning to listen like a professional. Let's start this section on communication with just listing the three major points we'll make. We'll talk about the message, we'll talk about feedback, and we'll talk about listening skills. So starting with the message, I'll explain it like this. We want you to clear your brain of chatter and pick one reason for speaking. Start by getting clear on the purpose of your message. What's the result you want? Don't make people listen to all the side notes of your message while they struggle to find the important part. You don't like that, and neither do other people. Sure, it's okay to tell stories and warm up the conversation, but be crystal clear about what it is you want the other person to know, what you want the other person to do, what you want the other person to be. Get clear on it in your own head so you are part of the solution to the communication issue that we have all over the world. You want to ask yourself, why are you speaking? Why are you texting? Why are you writing? One possibility might be to relay information, very legitimate. It's to get information so people know something or act upon it. Another one might be to persuade someone to do or believe something. A third on the list here is it might be to entertain, but be real careful there. A lot of groups have a jokester. There's a comedian in almost every family, every group, whatever. When you mix a major message, a major purpose with the comedic portion, with the joking around, with the entertaining, it dilutes both. And maybe we can all remember a time where we sat in on a session, a workshop, a conference, and the speaker was a comedian, used jokes and entertainment rather than giving us substance that would really help us when we went back into our regular life. Another one might be to simply blow off steam or to vent some of your own personal anger. And believe it or not, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't go overboard. And know that a lot of times with venting or letting anger off, we tend to say things that we maybe wish we hadn't said later, or We kind of wish we'd been a little more calm about it later when we're not as emotionally uptight. But that might be one of the reasons for you communicating. So I would suggest to ask yourself, when you're communicating around this first issue of the message, ask yourself, why are you communicating? What's the reason for you trying to get this message across to a group of people, a couple people, or one person? That split-second extra thinking will save you a lot of hours and dollars and hurt feelings down the road. The second area under feedback, the second key, is to get feedback under communication, I meant to say. So this feedback is a tool under the heading of communication that really solidifies that mutual understanding. In other words, most of us do communication in a one-way fashion. It's from us and it's out to other people, and we assume they can read our minds. We assume they're going to get the message that we intended, and we are usually wrong. That's why communication is a huge issue everywhere we look. So what we might do is understand that while person A is talking, person B either pretends or tries their best to listen. And we feel we don't have time to really go into the detail and some of the things I'm going to suggest, but we have time to do it again later. We seem to find the time to correct misunderstandings, to correct miscommunications, when we just didn't want to do it right the first time. No time to do it right, but time to do it again. We get feedback in a few ways. We get feedback by simply asking for it, asking people for feedback. What's your understanding of what we're planning to do next week? Watching for it, watching their behaviors, watching their actions. Not spying or anything like that, you know that. But just observing, being part of what's going on so that you see that the message you intended is being acted upon in the way you want it to be acted upon. You're watching for it. And another way to get feedback is by spotting the results that the person has understood the message, by looking at the end result of what they're working on or what they're doing. So multiple ways: ask for it, watch for it, or look for the results. Even if the person's, if the person's gone, you can still see the results of what you wanted done. So get the feedback so you can have that mutual understanding. The third key under the heading of communication is to listen, is to use those ears. So we say, calm your brain, close your mouth, and listen like it matters. A large part of communication is zipping it and being quiet. This is not something we're good at. We want to fill every space and connect every pause. If you want to be called a great communicator, take a breath and listen. People feel that someone who listens actually cares about them as a person and understands their issues. Our challenge is that we can comprehend much faster than other people speak. It's like, as I'm speaking on this video, your brain can go a whole lot faster. And I talk kind of slow anyway, but your brain can go a whole lot faster. You're thinking about a surgery later in the day, what you're going to have for dinner, all while I'm talking or while somebody else is talking. This means that we have to fill our minds with something while the other person slowly gets to the point. And it's worse now with all the texting, emails, tweeting, messaging, all that stuff. But here's how you do it. Here are a couple ways that you can fill your brain and train yourself to focus on the other person and be a good listener. One is start by asking questions about the topic. Think of some really pertinent questions that are on the subject of what the other person is talking about, or paraphrasing. The second thing you can do is to paraphrase what the other person is really trying to say. So you do this with terms, you know these, but we just need to remember to use them more often. You can say, so the way I see it is, and you tell them back what they've been trying to tell you, or what I'm hearing you say is such and such. And then there's another tool called the tabletop technique. And we use this. It's real easy to use, but a lot of us don't take the time to do something like this because the other person doesn't always get to the point. Some people don't know what their point is, okay? But it's in there somewhere. And what we can do with this tabletop technique is to think of it like this. You're going to listen till you get the core of the message that that person is talking about. That's the top of the table, where you kind of get the essence of what they're talking about. Then because your brain keeps going, your brain's got, going way faster than they're speaking, you want to listen for specific legs of the table that support the main topic. So you listen and listen, and pretty soon you've got one of those legs, one of those supports. And no table stands up with one or just two, so you need three, maybe four. So you keep listening, so you're training your brain to stay focused on the other person. That's good. That's good listening. It's a good skill. As we move into the assertiveness portion of our talk today, let's just recap that as we mentioned with communication, we've got our three major parts: the message, the feedback, and the listening. So let's take a look at this topic of assertiveness and see what we can learn, what we can use in real life. Assertiveness skills revolve around self-expression. And in fact, the definition, let's go with that right up front. The definition of assertiveness is speaking up in a way that it's like if you have two platters on a scale. It's speaking up in a way that balances your rights and the rights of other people. So that self-expression that keeps the balanced scale intact is true assertiveness. So we're going to talk about three segments of this topic: passive behavior, the other side, aggressive behavior, and then right in the middle, assertive behavior. And then I've got a kind of a bonus item for you a little bit later. But this is one of those topics that's really, really tricky because, somebody hears that you're going to a class on assertiveness, or that you're reading a book or watching a video that has some assertiveness in it. People wonder, because they misunderstand the term, and they'll wonder, what's he going to do when he gets out of there? What's she going to say? There's really nothing to fear with people learning about assertiveness unless we've been, using it against them because they didn't have some of the skills or something. So what we're going to try to do is make sure you're getting the core skills of assertiveness, and you'll see how they combine with communication to make things at Allandale really move forward well. So there's some basic rights that are kind of the foundation of good assertiveness. And there are four of those. Let's see if they make some sense for you. One of the first ones is our own needs are as important as the needs of others. We have the right to have our needs be as important as the needs of other people. One of the basic rights under assertiveness skills. The second one is the right to refuse requests without feeling selfish or guilty. Now, let's clear something up. Let's put this into context. We all have jobs to do. We got to do our jobs. And we need to do what our supervisors, managers, leadership, ownership would like us to do. So separate from that, as we deal in our regular world, as we deal with our peers, teammates, everyone around us, really, we have a right to refuse requests without feeling selfish or guilty. Now, I've worked in a lot of veterinary settings in the last several years, and I know that you people are givers. You're ready to do whatever it takes. You love animals. So it leads toward doing things that make you feel a little bad sometimes, make you feel, if you don't say yes to everything that comes at you, if you don't help with pricing and all that, it creates some anxiety. It's a complex kind of situation to try to deal with all that. But at the bottom of it all, at the base of it all, you have the right to refuse requests and not feel selfish or guilty. It's one of the basic tenets of good assertiveness. You also have the right to make mistakes. And then the fourth is you have the right to express yourself without violating the rights of others. Your rights stop when you get to my face, so to speak. Okay? So there are three behaviors that we want to talk about, and let's begin with passive behavior. This is when we allow the scale to be unbalanced in favor of other people. So we imagine that scale and those platters, and we allow that scale to be unbalanced where other people's rights weigh more, carry more heft, are more important than our own rights. We are showing passive behavior. And when we do that, here's some of the things that show up in our worlds. Little or no self-expression. We don't get the word out about what we need. Our needs are rarely verbalized. I mean, how can we expect to get our needs met when we don't verbalize them? People lose respect for passive behavior. In fact, in our live sessions on assertiveness, I make sure I call it being a doormat. And that's risky and scary, some people don't like that. But I want it to sink in that passive behavior over and over and over is like being a doormat. Something else we see is that people get sick often when they're never speaking up for themselves, when they're always showing that non-assertive behavior. There are occasional outbursts, and they're very sensitive to tense situations. When they or we are in that category, we do not like to be in tense situations. We're kind of out of control. We don't have the skills to navigate. The second category is going to jump all the way over the other side to aggressive behavior. And this is where the person forcibly leans the scale in their favor. So the scale, instead of the passive person doing it and giving it to everybody else, the aggressive person just yanks it and takes that and unbalances everywhere they go in life. Sometimes they're showing aggressive behavior. It's unnecessary, it's unneeded, it's skewing the scales in ways that shouldn't happen. But what we see here is this. We see loud and obnoxious behavior. We see it often as a mask for low self-esteem. The person often apologizes profusely. They're short-tempered with little patience, or when we're in that category, we are short-tempered with little patience. And the aggressive person is oblivious to tense situations. In other words, when it's difficult and awkward and it's just a weird place, they're fine with it. They probably caused it, okay? But it's not bothering them to be there. And let's come back to the center with assertive behavior. Assertive behavior is when we keep those scales evenly balanced most of the time. Not always, but most of the time we do that self-expressing, and we take our rights and the other person's rights and we kind of keep them. We might be in different positions, we might be in different power positions, whatever, but as far as another human being goes, their basic rights, my basic rights, we kind of keep those in line. We've got assertive behavior. And here's some of the things we see. We see self-expression that kind of creates a healthy attitude and a healthy environment. People speak up, but in ways that don't make a bunch of waves. They don't cause a bunch of problems by speaking up. They often get their needs met when they're showing assertive behavior. They speak up about it. Other people around you probably would like to help you meet your needs. You're doing your job, you respect the authority figures and all. There's a way to help you meet your needs. People kind of want to jump at it usually. People relax knowing your true feelings. And I remember being there where I would get preoccupied with some parts of the business or book or something, and people didn't know what I was really thinking or feeling or wanting to express to them. And it was very uncomfortable. I had to say, Rick, if something's wrong, please tell me. And nothing's wrong. But what I learned is that they want you to speak up, and it helps people around you when you speak up in a respectful and calm way without waiting for it to escalate into a problem. You speak up appropriately and early, preferably, and that helps a whole lot of people. There's no need for aggressiveness to get things done with assertive people, and they have fewer physical and mental problems, and they're less tense in tense situations. It's not like it's all magical and all goes away. They're human beings. So in tense, awkward, tricky situations, they feel it, but they've got a few more skills because they're self-expressing, and they also know when they speak up, they're going to try to keep the scales balanced. So why not speak up? Those are the three major parts of assertiveness: the passive, the aggressive, the extremes, and then right in the middle, that true assertiveness. Now there's one more. I'll bet some of you have heard about this. It's called passive aggressive. And a lot of people think this one has been mislabeled. They should have named it something else, because it makes you think passive aggressive. You're going from passive, you can't take it anymore, and you're going to start throwing things. You go over to aggressive, okay? That's not it. A better term for this passive aggressive, so to speak, behavior would be subtle aggressive. It's when you quietly, behind the scenes, sneakily do things that are somewhat aggressive. So it's like a teenager resents being asked to take out the trash. So you look outside and you see trash and garbage on the grass, a little bit in the driveway. They did it, but they did it in an aggressive way. Or an assistant resents doing a report, so he submits the finished product, the project, with a few pages in upside down. Subtle aggressiveness. Or a team member claims not to be insulted when someone reprimands him or her, and then conveniently forgets to pay a couple of critical invoices. I call it subtle aggressive, but if you read about it somewhere, it'd be called, the formal term is passive aggressive, but I think it is mislabeled. So as we've gone through our communication and our assertiveness, I want to begin to wrap up this video or our time together with the idea that no one wants to go through their day at the clinic or anywhere else with memories of past miscommunications and awkward interactions with other departments. It's just not worth it. I mean, miscommunication leads to irrational behavior. If we can get a handle on that, if we can maybe do our part just a little bit, so that we got to do our jobs, we got to do all kinds of things, but if we could do our part to kind of minimize the issue around communication that happens everywhere, that would be a good thing. Let me tell you a story about, there was a recent election down in the States. You may have heard of it. And I had a candidate and I had a party that I was in favor of, I was planning to vote for. And I kept getting messages, I kept getting texts and emails supporting the candidate that I already supported. The problem was they kept calling me Sheila. Now, my name is Rick, and I'm a guy. And I kept getting these messages, and I kind of politely reply and say, hey, I'm on your side, I appreciate it, but I'm not Sheila. And we'll change that, okay. A couple weeks later, I get another message, hi Sheila, are you supporting the candidate? I'm thinking, what's with these guys? So I get in touch again, oh, I'm gonna fix this right now, they would say. And then I get another one, it says, hello Sheila, the elections are coming soon. And I texted him back, I said, listen, I'm on your side. That's the candidate I'm supporting, it's the party. But if you keep calling me by the wrong name, I'm just gonna vote for the other person. Now, I really wasn't gonna do that. You couldn't have paid me to vote for the other person, but it just shows that how bad communication, how something just left dangling out there in the wind leads to or can lead to irrational behavior. I was ready, at least I threatened to do something irrational because it really bothered me. It showed disrespect for me in my mind. And that's what happens a lot of times when we get these miscommunications that didn't have to be that way. And unfortunately, I've seen that last for long periods of time within an organization. It takes something to break it, something to get past that, and you can be that something. So, I'm going to ask you to pledge to yourself, pledge to your department and everyone at Allandale that you'll do a couple things, that you'll give it your shot at a couple things. First, that you'll make a daily effort to keep current communications clear and mutually understood. You don't have to spend all your time on it, just make a little bit of an effort. And second, that promise that you'll take a bit of time to clear up any past misunderstandings or that anything that's been lingering out there, you'll just give it a little shot to kind of help clear a little bit of that up. Or at least that you'll agree to cut each other a little bit of slack and let some of the past issues just kind of fade away. So pledge to do this while you work hard to be truly assertive in keeping communication clear and focused on Allandale goals. Thank you so much.